It's summer in the Rhondda, and the crowds are gathering on the high street named the Best in Britain. The Prince of Wales is coming to Treorchy. Like so many visits over so many years, the formula is the same. Talk to locals, visit some shops, pull a pint in a pub. 65 days after the prince pulled that pint in this pub, he became king. A massive change for the country and for the man who, for over 60 years, was Prince of Wales. But what next for King and Cymru?
It's difficult for the king to avoid comparisons being made between his reign and his mother's.
If you didn't know that he was the prince and now the king, you wouldn't know. I mean, obviously the entourage give it away.
Younger generations, they are much, much less likely to believe that the royal family is important or has any relevance for Wales.
Happy Jubilee!
Having been on the throne for 70 years, the country had a knees up for the Platinum Jubilee. And the official anthem for this very British occasion was a very American song. As the weekend came to a close, the Queen stood on the balcony of Buckingham Palace. It was to be for the last time.
The Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon.
I take up my new duties with immense gratitude for the privilege of having been able to serve as Prince of Wales.
While you can prepare for transition, you never quite know how it's going to go. And I think for King Charles, actually, it's been a pretty stable period. I think he's steadied the ship, conscious that he's got his late mother's enormous shoes to fill. Comparisons will naturally be made between Queen Victoria and Edward VII, you know, a long-standing monarch who was revered on the throne, to passing on to an heir that might not be on the throne for that long. And I think that's difficult. And it's difficult for the king to avoid comparisons being made between his reign and his mother's.
But to understand the man formerly known as Prince and his relationship with Wales, you need to go back, way back. (1958), and the eyes of the sporting world are on Wales. Cardiff was the host of the Empire and Commonwealth Games. As they came to a close, the crowds were played a recorded message from the Queen on the future of her son.
I intend to create my son Charles, Prince of Wales, today. When he is grown up, I will present him to you at Carnarvon.
He heard it on a radio in school and later recalled the moment.
I remember being acutely embarrassed when it was announced, and I had this marvellous great cheer coming from the stadium in Cardiff. And I think for a little boy of 9, it was rather bewildering. I seem to remember, all the others turned and looked at me.
But between the announcement and the investiture, Wales changed forever. Dr. Marion Loeffler has studied the history.
Feelings about Wales, about Welsh identity, changed greatly during that time. We must remember that Tryweryn was drowned to make a reservoir for Liverpool City Corporation. Worldwide, You have civil rights movements. In Wales, you have Cymdeithas yr Iaith Gymraeg, the Welsh Language Society, starting to campaign on behalf of the Welsh language. And of course, you have the first Plaid Cymru Member of Parliament, Gwynfor Evans. And Plaid Cymru changes its politics as well. So perhaps Queen Elizabeth should have acted a little bit more quickly.
But the date was set, the 1st of July 1969, just days before man would step foot on the moon. Two very different worlds.
I, Charles, Prince of Wales.
The idea of a Prince of Wales divides people now, as it did then. For most, like these in Swansea, it was a time to celebrate.
I was up to 2 o'clock this morning blowing 100 balloons there. I mean, look at me. I was 20 stone yesterday.
For others, it was a time to protest. And among those protesting was the singer, David Ewan. He would much prefer talking about the politics of today, but I did speak to him last year about his fascinating insights from that period.
I was, for 10 years at least, enmeshed in Cymdeithas yr Iaith Gymraeg. My whole life turned around the language campaigns. And in the middle of the road signs campaign, which is probably, you know, the most remembered campaign because it was so evident, you know, we'd painted or removed the signs from all over Wales because they were in English only, after years of campaigning, you know. In the middle of all that came the investiture. Now, I suppose the idea was that the investiture would sort of bring us all together and make decent British, nice British boys and girls of us all. But of course it didn't work out like that. All it did was to rip us apart, in a sense. And we found ourselves in this strange situation. We didn't feel that strongly about it, but we had to refuse to be part of the investiture.
Over the years, his ties with Wales were strengthened, famously learning Cymraeg at Aberystwyth, but also about the history and culture of Wales. He acknowledged the sensitivities around his then title in a speech in 2018.
I am mindful of how the title of Prince of Wales goes back to those great Welsh rulers, such as Llywelyn ap Griffith, whose memory is still rightly honoured by all who value a true understanding of our past.
He probably knows more about Welsh history in detail than I do. He's very interested in the story of the Welsh princes and so on. He's very knowledgeable about that. And he doesn't want to be despised in Wales. He wants to be accepted.
He has studied Wales, Welsh culture, Welsh history. Doesn't that signify that he has a relationship with Wales, an affection for Wales?
The fact that Charles studied Welsh and studied Welsh history, that happened when he was a very young man. And again, one has to wonder how much that was orchestrated and planned by his mother, Elizabeth II, in order to connect him to Wales.
By 2006, there was a physical connection. After years of looking for a Welsh home, he bought one. Llwyn y Wermod in Carmarthenshire. Surrounded by 215 acres, it has taken years to fully restore, using traditional Welsh craft skills.
Duw a gadfor brenin.
God save the king.
Now he's the monarch. So what of the future?
They always said that he would rule differently, that he would have to maintain his late mother's unwavering impartiality. I think there was a little bit of a chink in the armour, wasn't there, when he was told, we think, by Downing Street not to go to COP27. The idea that that would be too politicised an event for him to get involved with. And no doubt that rankled, because he wants to be seen as an eco-warrior. He wants to put those opinions out there. And he would have probably said, actually, my views on the environment and how to save the planet aren't particularly political anyway. So yes, there's an extent to which he has been muzzled, but I think also an acceptance that it was always going to have to be the case.
He is a familiar face stepping into a new role, but he isn't alone in the royal family. There is a new king, but Wales has a new prince and princess too. So are more changes coming in the years ahead?
To the criticism of the couple's Caribbean tour, that William said, we've got to leave less unsaid here. Surely that also needs to be a discussion about how some people feel in Wales about having him as their prince.
And what those two have got as well is they've got that Princess Diana vibe, you know, the feel-good factor. And I think Princess Diana was loved by our country, by the world. And I think that's what they're going to bring to the table as well.
September the 16th, and King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla arrive in Cardiff. The streets are packed. First time you've seen him?
First time I've seen him, yes. Amazing, wonderful day, absolutely brilliant.
God save the King!
The United Kingdom of 2022 is very different from the one of 1952, and the King knows that. That's why he was so keen to get to the capital cities of all the 4 nations so quickly. In the area around Cardiff Castle, thousands stood to see the royal motorcade pass by. There was plenty of cheering, but listen closely and you'll hear a few boos too.
I was standing around here and we'd assembled a motley group of trade unionists, Republicans, socialists, people who believe in independence, people who don't but think that the monarchy was undemocratic, for a demonstration.
Now, given that most people here were coming to see what was going on, maybe to cheer, what was the reaction to you guys who were there for a different reason?
When we booed and chanted down with the king, and when we were holding our placards saying things like, we want real democracy now, divine right of kings, no thanks, we didn't actually get any particular hostility from anyone. It was a bit like they were doing their thing and we were doing our thing. So I found that very interesting. I mean, in the days when the monarchy had true power, we probably would have been hauled off and hanged, drawn and quartered.
Adam was there to protest, but as Prince of Wales, the King was outspoken, particularly about the causes he was passionate about. There are people against the monarchy for principled reasons, but particularly with this king, I mean, you look at the subjects that you're passionate about, things like climate change and the environment. I mean, there's a man at the top of the country who's like you. He wants to see the same changes. Isn't that a good thing for you?
Well, I think the problem is we don't elect him to be a spokesperson, so we don't like what he says. We can't get rid of him.
Back in the summer and that visit to the Ronda, Adrian spent a lot of time with the then prince, and he made an impression on him.
I know when someone's blagging, and he wasn't blagging. He was really interested. He kept on asking more questions. He had time for everyone, which I thought was great. And Camilla as well. You know, I think their standing, it went up a bit more, up a couple of notches from people who met them because they were great.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that?
Just they seemed genuine. If you didn't know that he was the prince and now the king, you wouldn't know. I mean, obviously the entourage gave it away, but he was genuine and he had a lot of time for people, and, you know, just genuine. That's the word I can use.
We haven't randomly left a pint glass here. There's a reason for this. What is this? What is this glass about? What's it for? Why is it famous here?
Well, this is the pint that he poured and drank out of. We had a laugh and joke in the bar as well, and I said that Now that he's poured a pint here, he started a tradition that any future king has got to pour a pint in the pub. So we're looking forward to William visiting next.
Good evening. The people of Wales have today been greeting their future prince.
On St David's Day 1991, an 8-year-old Prince William makes his first official engagement. Over 30 years later, the first act his father would do as king is make his eldest son the new Prince of Wales. So Wales has a new prince and princess, and William and Kate say they want to get to know the country a lot better. But one place they're very familiar with is their former home, here on Ynys Môn. This is where married life began for Catherine and William. It's where he became a search and rescue pilot. And it's where he spoke his first public words in Welsh.
Rwy mor fawr o fod wedi byw ar Ynys Môn mam Cymru. Rwy hyd yn oed wedi dysgu dipyn o Gymraeg.
Their first stop in Wales as the new Prince and Princess was the Holyhead's RNLI. Months on, and the crew were still reminiscing about that day.
It was really good, you know, public from the town down with the crew, good mix, really good atmosphere throughout the whole day. We'd been lucky enough to have the Commonwealth baton occasion as well just before, you know. So yeah, so it was a nice link really. But the icing on top of the cake for the year, like.
This is the area of Wales they are probably most familiar with. That's good for Ynys Môn, is it?
Very much so. I think when they lived here, they spent a lot of time. I mean, they would go to the shops, they would go to the local pubs, have food out. You talk to most people and they've seen them around at some point. You know, they've been in the pub when they've been there, or they've been into a shop and, you know, the princess has been in front of them, and people have had chats with them, and they didn't just hide themselves away, but locals kind of left them alone as well. You know, it was nice to have them here. I think it's raised the profile of the island massively. And so to have that sort of spotlight on Anglesey, which is a lovely part of the world, but, you know, doesn't get an awful lot of coverage sometimes. And it's just yeah, it's made a huge difference, them being here, and to come back to us as well, to sort of throw that spotlight on us again was fantastic.
Did they come across as royal, or as you perceive royalty to be?
The approachable sort of side of them, once we got talking, didn't seem to be any different to speaking to anybody else, really. Probably people all over the world would have seen that, and, you know, good advertisement for Anglesey for definite, possibly for wider Wales, yeah. People all over the world probably look at that and think, yeah, I'd like to go there, have a look at that.
That does create a very genuine connection that hasn't been confected for PR reasons. There is a sense to which they were, at one point in their lives, at their happiest because they lived in Wales. We know after the criticism of the couple's Caribbean tour that William said, we've got to leave less unsaid here. We've got to deal with some of the debates that can sometimes cause controversy. And I think that isn't just a debate about colonialism and our imperialist past, but surely that also needs to be a discussion about how some people feel in Wales about having him as their prince.
That ancient title, dating from the time of those great Welsh rulers like Llywelyn ap Griffith, whose memory is still rightly honoured, I now pass to my son William, whose love for this corner of the earth is made all the greater by the years he himself has spent here.
It is said that Prince William wants to be a prince for Wales, not of it. He supports Welsh rugby, but as for football, it's a different matter.
And I'm really here to just kind of point out that the rest of the country is behind you. We're all rooting for you.
Pictures like these not ideal in a World Cup where Wales faced England. Some say it's a title he shouldn't have.
We should have this debate in Wales. Why do we have someone who has no real linked with Wales' history, you know, and our culture and our traditions, as, you know, with our name in his title when he appears, you know, all over the world. You know, he'll be called the Prince of Wales, but what connection does he have with Wales?
But opinion polls show the majority of people are like Adrian.
Kate and William, you know, there's double act, you know. Kate is like the First Lady would be in America, you know, and what those two have got as well is they've got that Princess Diana vibe, you know, the feel-good factor, and I think Princess Diana was loved by our country, by the world, and I think that's what they're going to bring to the table as well.
Young and popular.
Young and popular, and, you know, yeah, fantastic, and we can't wait to get them to visit our community as well.
Do you suspect when the time comes he won't appoint his son as Prince of Wales and that Prince William could well be the last?
You know, we've just had our Year 1 history quiz here at Cardiff University. And one of the questions I devise is always, who was the last Prince of Wales? Llywelyn and Llyw Ola, Prince Charles, or Prince George? And you know what? Quite a few students ticked Prince George. The younger generations, they are much, much less likely to believe that the royal family is important or has any relevance for Wales. When Prince William becomes King William, he will have to think long and hard on how he confirms George as Prince of Wales, let alone whether he does that. What I can predict is that there won't be any huge investiture ceremony ever again as we had in 1911 or 1969. That's a 20th century thing which I don't think the 21st century will repeat.
Prince William will be different to his father, and King Charles will be different to his mother. What worked before may not work now. It is an institution that evolves.
It's a long time since the newly invested prince stood on that balcony here in Caernarfon. Our relationship with him is long and complex, but as king, he knows more about Wales, Welsh life and Welsh culture than any other monarch since Henry VII. But armed with that knowledge, will it make a difference in the years ahead?